on! Hurry!
Are we allowed to?
We can talk about it later. We have to follow them.
Thanks,
Thank
Isai.
you.
Find somewhere safe.
We'll meet up later.
Go, 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 go!
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself, and ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be fighting the Quematrice. I think they literally said it in the thing, but I totally forgot already. It's the chicken, the fire chicken, the rooster, if you will. Nevertheless, this guy is really cool. I absolutely love the design of this monster so much, it's insane. Actually, so far at all the monsters I fought thus far, my favorite one. Nevertheless, let's get into the meat potatoes. As you can see, bro is a fire monster. He's actually a brute wyvern, believe it or not, because he's like a chicken. You know, chickens used to be raptors. Or anyway, the real thing we need to talk about is how he fights. Of course, his main weakness is going to be water, but unfortunately around this time you may or may not have any access to water weapons. But if you do eventually get access to water weapons are going to be what you want to use to do the most damage to him. Now, this is a very interesting monster. For a lot of people like myself who play the game for a long time, you may notice a particular move that he has is a bit of a callback to other generations of Monster Hunter with different monsters themselves. Now, the main thing this guy can do is swing his tail. That's kind of where the majority of the damage will come from. Not so much the tail swing itself, but what he can do with the tail, how he actually sets the fire everywhere. So how he does it is he will swing his tail, and then it'll lay out this vapor, like this gas vapor, and then when he swings it again, that ignites it. It's actually really cool, and honestly, if you're kind of new to the series and just fighting for the first time, it could be pretty annoying as to like deal with this kind of thing, because he does use his tail as a means to extend his range, much like how the Chotacabra used his tongue to extend his range, because his actual range isn't very far. He's kind of like a chicken. What chickens do, as we know, they peck. That's his close range attack. The peck is actually pretty quick. If you're guarding with like your lance or something like that, just hold on to the guard button. It'll allow the hunter to do the counter shield bash. Just let him do it. Don't try to like fight it. Let him get his 2, maybe 3 pecks in, then you can actually counterattack with what you would usually do, because it's not a super strong attack. It's just a move that could allow you to get a little off kilter a little bit, you know what I mean? Just kind of make you stumble a bit. But nevertheless, the tail is the main thing you want to really look into right here. So I would strongly urge you all that if you are going to fight him and you've had it up to here with the tail, cut it off. The beauty of Monster Hunter, if there's something that you really want or something that really annoys you, you can just cut it off for the most part. The tails for a lot of monsters are very annoying. The tail for this guy is no different. Once you cut the tail off, he will still throw the vapor, or the gaseous vapor, whatever it is, to ignite fire, but he can't actually do that because the tail is what he used to strike that fire. I'm guessing it's along the lines of him dragging his tail along the ground, and him doing so, the friction allowed it to spark. But when he can't do that because the majority of his tail is gone, he just swings his tail, and the range itself is even much shorter. That is my big massive tip when fighting him, is to just try your best to cut the tail, focus on the tail itself. It might be a little hard to do, but depending on what weapon you're actually using, the lance wasn't too difficult to do, so weapons with shorter ranges might be a little bit more difficult, but that's when you have to really get creative. Like with the sword and shield, you would have to probably force mount the monster and do a lot of damage to the tail, and then do your ender, and then do a lot of wound breaks right on the tail to get it to cut off, or to get it to fly off. And this goes for the same for basically anyone. Now, I know this entire video has just been talking about the tail, but I just want to explain that that's going to be the biggest thing to most people when it comes to fighting him, because he himself is not very dangerous, not a very tough monster to fight. But I just want to make that very clear for a lot of people fighting him for the first time. Now, with that being said, since he doesn't have a whole lot to him, let's actually look at the gear. So when you finally beat our good friend the fire chicken, you want to go to the smithy and make some of his gear. The gear looks amazing. I love the aesthetic, of course. It's actually quite nice, the Cavalier Musketeer kind of look. But the really important thing to note is the skills on this set. Now, take a look at my skills to the right. Guard is from my weapon. Weapons themselves have skills all for themselves, and the Quematrice Lance gave me guard, which is really great because I am a lancer and I love this skill. Nevertheless, that's primarily not why we're here. We're here to look at the skills of the set itself. Now, the actual skills for this armor set is flinch free 3 and fire resistance 2. Now, this is of course for using the full set. Okay, so flinch free is an amazing ability. I quite like it a lot. It actually prevents knockback. So let's say you're playing multiplayer with your friends. Flinch free makes it to where if someone is using like a longsword or something like that and they hit you and they kind of tend to like make you flinch or knock you over or stumble or all that stuff, this prevents that. Okay, it's a super cool ability. It prevents it, and in a monster hunting sense, there's certain moves that a monster would do the same thing, flinch you, trip you, etc. This mitigates all that as well. Harped on that long enough, let's move on to the next skill. Now, the next skill is just fire resistance, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's fire resistance. It gives you a bit of extra resistance when it goes to fire attacks. Now, for the most part, this is great when you are fighting monsters who actually have fire in the repertoire. Unless you're going to be grinding out the chicken themselves, you won't really see a need for this fire resistance right now, but when you max out the resistance to level 3, it gives you a plus 10 to defense. Now, this is a skill that's actually pretty cool if you can get it, especially if you want that extra bit of defense, but it's also very, very cool to have when you notice that a monster you're going to be fighting is a little difficult, or they themselves have fire, and the armor that you're probably wearing isn't the most suited to resist all this damage, but that extra plus the defense might help you out when you try to mitigate some of the damage you would take on top of the fire damage you would take as well. Enough about that. Let's talk about its group ability. The group ability is Mounting Master. It makes it easier to mount monsters and wound them once they're mounted. So this is an old skill. Like, people who use insect glaives or sword and shields, or anyone who likes to really mount the monster themselves, this is a fantastic skill to have because it makes it where it's a lot easier to do so, and your efforts to do it is just going to be more easy to come out. So normally in a hunt you probably get maybe 1, maybe 2 mounts. With this you could probably get 3 to 4, and depending on the monster you're fighting, mount spam is a quite viable tactic. I'm with it if you're with it. Realistically, good stuff. Now, its weapons are actually pretty solid. They're all fire. It's going to be a great way to introduce yourself into fire weapons. I myself am a huge fan of the weapon. It has decent attack thus far, but what's really, really neat is that it actually has affinity right out the gate. Affinity is a weapon's chance for critical hit. So in this case, the lance I have right here is a 5% chance to land a critical hit. Usually the standard rate is 0, which isn't a big deal because either you do or you don't get it. But it's cool that this weapon actually gives you fire and affinity. And fire is a really strong element to have in the monster hunter game this early on, because a lot of earlier monsters are really susceptible to fire damage. So I highly recommend you at least make one of his weapons. So to wrap it up, this guy is a really, really cool hunt. I love him to death. His gear is fantastic. The hunt can be a little annoying, but if it's because of the tail, the fire and all that, remember you can cut the tail off and it completely neuters that entire aspect about this monster. It's something that I truly and earnestly recommend if it's giving you a tough time. Outside of that, if you have a water weapon, you can use that to do extra damage to him because his main weakness is water. Now, believe it or not, his main weakness is also on his tail. Hit him in his tail and hit him in the face. These are his 2 weak points. You're going to do the most damage you could do to him if you hit these areas, and it'll be very easy for you to take this monster down. He's not super difficult, but he's definitely a step up from the Chotacabra. Now, outside of that, everyone, that's pretty much all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's been your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. Stay tuned for more videos. I'm going to try to get maybe 2 or 3 of these videos out a day, because I'm still also streaming this on my Twitch. The link for that is in the description if you want to check it out. I'm actually going to just render this video, upload it, and then immediately start streaming. So while you're watching this video, I'm literally going to be streaming. That's if you're watching it the day this video comes out, of course. If you're watching 2 weeks down the line, heck, who knows, I might still be streaming, so click that link anyway. But with that said, it's been your boy. You all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, and may the Desire Center forever be in your favor.